after each sitting, it's as if a week has passed, not just a sitting. There's so much happening, so I won't burden our viewers with detail. I mean, beyond the legalistic aspect, because I don't want to get into legalistics at this stage, I think what Therese and myself, together with the family of Daphne, are experiencing firsthand is state impunity in its worst form. When we used to say that this is a mafia state, every day people are telling us, Therese, myself, the family, you were right. We thought you were exaggerating. We didn't think it was this bad. I mean, just today, without entering into detail, what the people have followed from the media, Therese and myself were in the courtroom. You have the top brass of the country, the personal assistant of the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister being privy to certain incriminating facts. Let's put it mildly. And we have this damning indictment by a person who turned state evidence, was given the presidential pardon, who basically is saying that this was the perfect conspiracy by a number of people to get rid of a person who was very much an inconvenience and a thorn in the neck for people who were corrupt and who are corrupt. Because basically, and I will stop here in order to give Therese the opportunity to expound upon this, but there's so much happening. There's the public inquiry, which has resumed today after a 3-month lockdown. And there's the criminal aspect, where there are basically two main procedures. So you have the main criminal proceedings against Jürgen Fenech and against 3 other persons who are accused of being the actual...
the hitman.
The hitman, right?
And the person who got the presidential pardon is the middleman.
The person who got the presidential pardon is the middleman. And today we've heard evidence in court that indicates very clearly that the middleman, above the middleman, there were certain people in power within the office of the Prime Minister. I'm being very cautious in order not to jeopardize certain things.
Absolutely.
But I think this is extremely important for the people to know, because we receive messages that people are shocked after each sitting. I mean, having the Deputy Commissioner of Police leaking information and then going to pick up whiskey as a sort of payment for the information he's leaking about the investigations. Having the Assistant of the Prime Minister, Keith Cambry, giving information he got from the security services in order to benefit, in order to help, in order to protect the criminals, the people who carried out the murder. I mean, can it be worse than this?
Therese.
Leah, the assassination is a tragedy in itself. The assassination is a tragedy for the family because they have lost a loving mother and a loving wife and a loving daughter. But it is also a tragedy for this country because we have lost an investigative journalist. But Jason and I are continuously living, and I believe the family as well with us, with every sitting, we are continuously living the unfolding of this tragedy. The tragedy not just for the family, but also the national tragedy itself. Because what comes out with every sitting is precisely this network that existed, I hope no longer exists, but I'll say I hope. But what we are continuously seeing with the information coming out from different sittings is that there was a network which involved people in business, people in the criminal world, people who were known criminals, people who were named in the Panama Papers, people who were politicians, people who were PEPs, people who were chosen by the Prime Minister of our country to help him run this country.
And this
And we're
also,
seeing this network having some effect or some finger in the pie, where the pie is the assassination of a mother, but also the assassination of an investigative journalist.
when you speak about network, I'm presuming that it goes beyond our shores.
So far, we are speaking of a network because this is what the information, what the evidence has brought out in the public domain, as journalists have reported. So far, we are speaking of a network which involves people who are Maltese, people who are known in Malta, people who are either elected to office, people who are either not voted into office, but appointed to a public office, and also people who so far are Maltese. We have been, I believe this country and the police have been very fortunate to obtain the assistance of the FBI and the assistance of Europol, and I think we really need that assistance, because the underworld, the network that Jason and I are seeing coming out from all the evidence that is being given is not an easy network to deal with.
Yes.
And so I think even the police officers who were and are still investigating this assassination deserve a hats off for the work that they've done. But when we're here, you know, discussing, even with our viewers, trying to discuss the effects of this assassination on our country, it is damning.
Yeah.
It is the tragedy. As I said before, the tragedy is not just a family tragedy. It is a national tragedy.
Yes. I understand we've got Dr. Joe Giglio. Dr. Giglio? Good
Hi,
evening,
Leah.
Dr.
Hi,
Giglio. How
Therese.
are
Hi,
you?
Jason.
Hi.
How are you? You and I have spoken many times about this case and this assassination on a variety of television programs. In your opinion, could it be probable that this case will, for some reason or another, remain unsolved, and therefore many people won't find the closure that we're seeking?
Well, definitely when, insofar as the family is concerned, when any family goes through such a terrible tragedy like this, indeed it is always very difficult to find closure, and the circumstances of this particular case are such that for the family and the immediate family and the close relatives, it would be very, very difficult indeed to find closure, notwithstanding the fact of what might happen or not happen. However, from the legal point of view, as yet, we have a situation where 3 persons have been charged with having actually carried out the plot. And we also have a situation where the person who is being alleged financed this whole operation and contracted the middleman to find the persons to carry out the murder. These people have been charged in court. So insofar as they are concerned, one hopes and has to believe that the justice system is such that insofar as that part of the case is concerned, over there, from the legal point of view, from the judicial point of view, one will have closure. However, this case also, unfortunately, has, as has been rightly explained by Jason and Therese, these connotations which go beyond what we are hearing and what we are seeing in court. And therefore, there is always going to remain, in my opinion, this lingering doubt, this lingering thought, this something at the back of everybody's mind that there were perhaps other people who could have participated or helped or assisted before or after in the carrying out of this terrible plot, which, as Therese rightly pointed out, is a national disaster. And irrespective of these people, there wasn't enough, there wasn't the appropriate.
We seem to have lost Dr. Giglio there.
Okay. In respect of these people, perhaps there was a situation where the investigations perhaps weren't thorough enough, or the investigations were such that there were other people who are trying to thwart it, trying to stop it, trying to block it, trying to derail it. And this lingering doubt and this lingering situation would, yes, unfortunately, lead me to answer your question that it could probably be that the whole closure of the whole case would in actual fact perhaps not happen.
That's actually very bad news. I thank you very much for your time today, Dr. Giglio.
Thank you very much.
Good
and have a nice
evening.
evening.
That sounds awful, to be honest.
I'll be very blunt over here. I will not mince my words. This is the case of the century. It is overwhelming. The evil, the organized, coordinated evil that permeates all the levels of this case is mind-boggling. But I'll be very blunt. Our determination, when I say our, the family and the legal team, to get to the bottom, in spite of everyone and everything, the resolve is much, much stronger than it was a week ago, than it was a year ago, than it was 2 years ago. And we will leave no stone unturned. We will leave no stone unturned. Not Joseph Muscat, who in 2017 said he will leave no stone unturned, and now we know, the public knows, because we have known what is coming out from the testimony in court. We have been carrying inside for months on end.
Absolutely,
but we couldn't talk.
Now you can
and
talk
I can
about
tell you,
it because it is on the public domain.
And we can, with a sense of responsibility, tell the viewers, you ain't seen nothing yet. Mm-hmm. What will come out in the short term will shock you even more. Even though what has come out in the last few days, I know and we know that has shocked many people. But we can tell you, there's much more. And when it comes out, you will realize that we were right, that Daphne was right, that the family was right, that civil society is right, that the opposition is right when it says this government is corrupt to the core. And mentioning civil society, something that touched us over the last 48 hours, we listened to recordings, both today and in the last, 3 days, where the criminals involved were heard, and we listened to them saying they were worried because of the protests, because of the street protests being organized. Once it was a particular Thursday, once it was a particular Saturday. So they were taking notice. And what the message is I'm trying to convey is to the people, do not be afraid. Daphne once wrote, even if your voice shakes and you're the only one, don't be afraid. And the criminals do take notice. And we have managed to get rid of the most corrupt prime minister in the world last December. You know what happened and why that happened. And we will get to the bottom of this. And I will not allow anyone to in any way diminish our resolve, our courage, our will. We have, I know we're not underestimating the entity of the case, but we will not stop until the full truth comes out.
Thank you very much. We're going to carry on. We've got to go for a short commercial break. Stay with us. I'm with the Shadow Minister of Justice, Dr. Jason Azzopardi, and the Honourable Therese Comodini Cachia.